I'm William McKee. I'm an associate consultant with Taylor Clark. I'm joined by Anne Houston, who is our sort of, I think of as our resident expert in courageous leadership. It's something I've heard Anne talk about and I was very intrigued by. And I thought, well, why don't we just grab a quick conversation with Anne and find out more. So Anne, if you'd like to introduce yourself, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, okay, thanks William, nice to see you again. Yeah, and I've worked with Taylor Clark now as an associate consultant for 10 years, working across all private, public, third sectors. So looking forward to chatting.
Okay, great, thank you. And so just tell me about courageous leadership then. It seems like there's lots of different words that can come before leadership, lots of different ideas around leadership and things like that. So what is it in your mind then? What's courageous leadership to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting thinking about it, because I wouldn't say it's necessarily a kind of leadership style or a type of leadership, but I think it is more about a mindset. It's a leader that's prepared to be brave enough to be very unwavering in terms of the direction that they're taking. And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about that term, having the courage of your convictions. And I think for me, there is something about that in terms of courageous leadership, that people that are courageous leaders are clear about what their convictions are. And by that, I guess, I mean what their values are, what's important to them, but also why they do what they do as well. You know, what's their raison d'etre. And they're super clear about it, and they don't allow themselves to be diverted down rabbit holes or unhelpful paths, I think. So that's mainly, I would say, what courageous leadership's about.
Because that kind of makes me sit up a wee bit when you say, what are your convictions? I think, well, what are my convictions? That's not necessarily something that people reflect on a daily basis or regularly. Yeah. So what would you do then to help someone with that kind of thing, get clear on it? They'd say, well, I have convictions, but how does that feature into leading people?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's about helping people understand what's important to them, what gets them up in the morning, why they do what they do, particularly. I think it's a really important question. So I think there's a series of questions that courageous leaders probably do ask themselves, quite critical questions about why do I do what I do, and is this course of direction going to fit with why I do what I do? And particularly when there's a real impetus for change, which there is at the moment, a clear impetus for change. If you don't have that grounding, if you're not courageous enough to say, well, I could follow all these different directions, I could do go down all these different routes for my organisation, but if that takes me further away from why I do what I do and ultimately what's important to me, then that's unhelpful. So I'm going to be courageous enough to go, no, that's not a route I'm going to go down. And that's not meaning being inflexible, but it is having that courage of your convictions, I think.
So it sounds like there's something around decision making to say, there's lots of different reasons why different decisions can be made. But it sounds like what you're saying is courageous, you're looking to the convictions to inform some of those decisions, and being prepared to take risks. I hear that as well. I mean, that what's the relationship then with courageous leadership and risk?
Yeah, it's interesting, because I think for me, risk means a leap of faith, I guess, but at the same time, it's still with that clear grounding about why you're doing what you're doing and how it fits with your values.
We're not just doing everything and anything to be brave.
It's just not a random leap into the unknown, but there's a clear. But yes, it still fits. We're taking that leap of faith, but it still fits. I'm just trying to think of examples. If you think about the hospitality industry now, big challenges, 1 meter, 2 meter distancing. If you've got if excellent service to your customers is ultimately your raison d'etre, then you have to be very clear about coming back to that. Every decision you make, does this still provide, can we ensure that this will still provide it? What will excellent service look like now? And let's keep coming back, because if we can't, if we're not clear about that, then we shouldn't be doing it. We shouldn't be doing it. So I guess, yeah, it is about decision making. Yeah, but it's grounding almost that sense of purpose and those clear values. It's being courageous enough to stay true to those, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And do you find different people find it easier or more difficult? I mean, are there certain traits, personality, where this idea of making courageous decisions does that come more easily to some people than others?
Yeah, well, I think it may be more difficult perhaps for people who are quite process driven, for whom detail is very important in terms of their personality. I think for others who are perhaps more visionary, who are maybe more creative, they're much, it's easier for them to see the bigger picture and to do a bit more lateral thinking, to think out of the box. So I think they find it less scary. So I think they may feel more, it might not look like courageous leadership to them, but they're probably able, and I know they are able to make leaps of faith and leaps of association, if you like, easier. But then that needs to be balanced by the process and the detail and all the other things behind it as well. But yeah, that would be my take on it, I think. Yeah.
Just very practically then, if I was going to work over the next, say, 2 weeks on being a little bit more courageous in my leadership, what would you have me do? Or what's your top tip?
Oh gosh, okay. I think just sitting and being super clear about what's important and why you do what you do. But I also would think about what limiting beliefs you might hold that are not based on any rational evidence. So we've all got assumptions and beliefs that sit there about what we can or we can't do ourselves within our organisation. And I think I would challenge those and have a look at, what things do I think I can't or we can't do, and what basis have I got for that?
Yeah.
And if you want to be a courageous leader, look for role models, people that you think are courageous leaders. And I think I would also make sure that feedback's a really important part of being a courageous leader. Open yourself out for feedback, learning from others, admitting your mistakes, really being clear about the fact that the only way you can be courageous is to be that bit vulnerable and be prepared to admit mistakes, learn from mistakes, and open yourself up to some very open and honest feedback from people as well. That's courageous.
Yeah, because I guess that's the other side of the relationship with risks, isn't it? If you take more risks, you're going to make more mistakes. And so
yeah.
That makes me think about my own relationship with making mistakes and how comfortable I feel around that, and how to own that. Yeah.
And I think it's that whole thing about leaders should also not have all the answers. They shouldn't expect to have all the answers. And if courageous leaders don't have an ego, I think courageous leaders are people that will say, I don't have the answers. I need my team to work with me to find the solutions. But I'm not going to sit there and say that I am, that I have all the answers. I'm the fountain of all knowledge.
Yeah.
That's courageous. Leaving your ego behind is courageous.
Yeah. Because I mean, ultimately, it's a high bar to set for yourself to be the font of all knowledge, isn't it? But I think a lot of leaders unconsciously do that.
Set that expectation for themselves, which can be unhelpful and doesn't always send the best message either. I think that's true. Yeah.
Brilliant. There's about 50 questions in my head, just about different areas of this to explore. Maybe we could do another video.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that.
That's been really, really interesting. Thank you, Anne.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Take care.
Cheers.